Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to Gemma for inviting me to do this talk. Firstly, I'm going to start off with a poem, and this poem is inspired by the youth generation that are marching at the moment for climate change, and I hope you enjoy. So, young voices demanding choices for the survival of the planet before they're left with stone granite. Rising seas, elimination of bees, insect devastation, pipeline condemnation. Coral reef deceased shaped by an illogical belief. Animal welfare, do these people care? We've lost our connection to our survival protection. Carbon emissions won't even persuade decisions. Infinite reality, not in the vocabulary. Profit, greed is the hegemony need. Deforestation for agricultural formation. Infected food for masses fooled. We have lost our connection to our survival protection. Landfills for fashion thrills, plastics for consumer fantastics. Workers' rights allowing new heights. Child labour, who's in favour? 0-hour contract if your face fits the format. We have lost our connection to our survival protection. Selfie posts, who's got the most? FOMO apprehension leads the daily intention. Narcissistic encouragement for insecure punishment. We have lost our connection to our survival protection. Incessant need, conditioned by greed, individualistic beings deceasing all things. Is there a chance for a resurrection? We need to listen, we need to hear, we need to put policies in place to counteract this disgrace. Relinquish our complacency that got us into this mess, for we are all being put to the ultimate test. This is the generation demonstrating cares for a future that's theirs. Humanity needs to step forward, and yes, this will be awkward, convincing climate change to those deranged. Rise up, join in, this is where we begin. For what's at stake we can't replace. Be open to new ways of living, and let's hope that we are forgiven. This is the generation demonstrating cares for a future that's theirs. By acting fast, we can make our planet last for the next generation, for they did not cause this desolation. They will be the ones to plant new seeds and move away from committing ill deeds, where incessant need is eradicated and giving back is perpetuated. This is the generation demonstrating cares for a future that's theirs. Thank you. Thanks again to Gemma for this event. My name is Deborah Smailes, and I've worked in the fashion industry for 20 years within the UK and the Netherlands. I left the industry 9 years ago and worked as a fashion and textiles lecturer. I'm currently carrying out a study with the University of Manchester, and my research is based around fashion sustainability versus fast fashion. My talk today is about raising awareness of sustainability clothing in the hope that more people will have a greater understanding of the current clothing industry. So, clothing ecology. You might ask why I talk about clothing and ecology and how these two things fit together. Well, every fibre that we wear originates from the Earth's minerals and living organisms such as coal, oil, plants, silk and wool. And ecology is how we interact with our environment. And the journey from fibres to fabric that create our clothing includes chemical and physical interactive process. And as human beings, we have manipulated this process and use Earth's finite resources at a rapid rate, particularly to keep the fast fashion machine alive. If we try and connect our clothes to this reality, we may consider what is really at stake and make the right choices. So, fast fashion is one of the biggest contributors to the depletion of resources on our planet. It is also labour intensive with unethical working standards in developing countries. And as a result, we are now starting to see the adverse effects of our health and our ecosystem. And this is a factory that I visited while working in the industry in India. And just for you to capture the scale of this operation, this is one hall, and there was 3 halls on this scale within that factory outlet. And Zara, the fast fashion company, claimed to create 1 million garments a day. Now you can imagine that we have many fast fashion brands on the high street, and each of them are making 1 million garments a day. What is the amount of that, and what is the impact of that? So the good part about this is that you don't even have to be interested in fashion or the trends that are out there, because we all take part, because we clearly participate in wearing clothing, and it's illegal not to wear clothes in public. This factory that I visited employed a lot of people where they did receive a wages, but some of them wasn't a fair wages, so that's what we're trying to cover and implement with some companies that I'm going to speak about today. So fixing fashion. This is the Environmental Audit Committee report, and the contributors from this report were academics, MPs and designers working in the industry to try and come together to put solutions and ideas with the hope of gaining support from our government to reduce and slow down the acceleration of fast fashion. Unfortunately, this audit report was rejected, and sadly nearly all of the suggestions put forward were rejected by the Conservative government. The only policy approved was the ban on plastic straws, and a proposal for working towards abolishing child labour and modern slavery within the supply chain was rejected. So I'm just going to read some statistics that came through from that report within the UK fashion industry. So within the UK, we buy more clothes per person than in any other country in Europe. The fashion industry is worth 32 billion to the UK economy, and the industry employs 890,000 people. It is outperforming other markets, including technology and telecommunications. And 5 billion of value is lost every year due to clothing underutilisation and the lack of recycling. So what is the impact of this? So clothing manufacturing, the use and disposal is responsible for 30 million tonnes of carbon emissions annually. And I just like this. This is Professor William Jarvison, and he was part of Owens College, which then turned into the University of Manchester. And he wrote a book back in 1965 asking the question how we are using the Earth's resources. So it's called The Cold Question, his book. So back then it's interesting enough to note that we were questioning our use of resources. Plastics within our system, waterway system. So we have microfibers that come off our clothing, probably people already know this. Synthetic clothing releases microfibers when it's washed, it goes into our waterway system, it pollutes the seas, the fish eat those microfibers, and then it's back into the food chain. And there's research being carried out to see what effects that has in our health. There is very poor building regulations and working conditions throughout the supply chain in developing countries, and it contributes to disasters which you may already know, with the Razzle Plaza and the fire that was in Pakistan, which killed over 200 people. There is companies that have been set up, like this company Accord, which regulate and audit factories in developing countries. And they have at least 160 companies under their belt, and they look after at least 1 million workers out in the developing countries. So there is good things being done. I just want to bring the attention about landfills, because this is closer to home. So 350,000 tonnes of textiles end up in landfill sites or incineration. This is a landfill that I personally visited and took photographs of, and this landfill is in Ardwick down the road, just 2 miles away from where we are now. This isn't new, there's landfills across the country, but what is supposed to happen is that they're topsoiled and seeded, and pipes go down to release methane gas, which is a destruction anyway. But this has to be regulated. So I just wanted to highlight it is a problem that's close to home. Right. This also is another problem within Manchester at the moment, that we have seen that there's workers that are being paid £4 an hour within fast fashion. And the reason why I use these is because it's not happening in a faraway country and allowing other governments to take care of it. It's happening here in our own country. I think we need to put pressure on the people that are in power to stop this from happening. And we can connect to it a lot closer as well if it is happening within our own country. This was an article in the Daily News. If anybody's interested in reading it further, it is an interesting read. So, raising awareness, because I believe this is the stage that we're at now. So you have the true cost documentary behind the scenes of the fast fashion supply chain. You have Next Black documentary exploring the future of the fashion industry. And you have the BBC, which has become mainstream, secrets within the fashion industry, excessive water usage, river pollution. You have Untitled, which is 5 years recording the struggle of women working in sweatshops in Bangladesh. They're all interesting documentaries to read. I just want to cover, there is solutions being put forward in relation to the microfibres going into the waterway systems. So we have the Cora ball, which is a ball that you purchase, you can put it into your washing machine and it collects the microfibres.
Sorry.
It's okay, don't worry. The company claims that it is recyclable, but the trials that have been tested on this, it doesn't collect as many microfibres as what you would like. We also have the Guppy Friend bag, which I have to admit is a bit of a bugbear of mine, and I'll tell you why. The zips are not biodegradable or recyclable, but YKK, the biggest manufacturer of zips, is producing recyclable and biodegradable zips, and I always think, why are these companies not communicating with each other? Also, we're asked to collect the microfibres in the Guppy Friend bag, and then the only disposal of these fibres we're advised to put them into our general trash cans, but that means that those fibres are going back into the earth. So I don't know which one works best, the sea or the earth, because it will eventually come back into the food chain. I had discussions with people about why don't the manufacturers take responsibility and produce washing machines that collect this. There is a Turkish manufacturer that's launching a washing machine in 2020, and they claim that they do collect the microfibres within your wash cycles. We also have the extra filter, which is you can purchase it and you can attach it to your washing machine. But I honestly ask people to really question the greenwashing aspect of everything that you come across. You know, the research is on these websites. I found this research on the websites of these companies. It's not hard to find and to realise some of the greenwashing tactics. And a lot of these companies are being called out, which I think is interesting, because I think consumers should ask a demand for 100% full circle products, rather than encouraging us to buy products that are not 100% biodegradable, recyclable. It's just another gimmick, I think, for us to consume more products that we don't need. I'm just going to talk around some companies that are doing some good work within fashion sustainability. So we have the Union of Concerned Researchers in Fashion. It was formed in 2008 by academics, and the creation of the union was inspired by the Union of Concerned Scientists, which formed in 1969 when scientists were concerned about climate change. They engage in talks with clothing brands and stakeholders. I think that's a key area. We have to engage with stakeholders. Full Circle Economy Foundation set up by Dame Ellen MacArthur. You have the Clean Clothes campaign. It's a global alliance dedicated to improving working conditions and empowering workers in the global garment and sportswear industries. Labour Behind the Label do something similar. They campaign for garment workers' rights. And then you have one that we're probably all familiar with, which is Fashion Revolution, which is a conglomerate of people that love fashion but don't want clothing to exploit or destroy the planet. They work on a number of campaigns and demand radical revolutionary change. We have WRAP, Sustainable Clothing Action Plan is a good one of theirs. And they work with companies to reduce carbon, water and waste. And we have Fashion Roundtable. These work in areas of education, mentoring and parliamentary policies for textiles and the fashion industry. And I've recently become their Northwest Ambassador, and I'm participating on a policy paper that looks at representation and inclusion within the fashion industry. I have some of the paper with me today if anybody's interested in taking one to have a read. You can get involved in that also. So, proposed sustainable solutions. With the research that I'm doing at the moment and the reading that I'm doing, it looks like we're gravitating towards some of these economies that are existing at the moment. And they're at the early stages, so they will be objectified as well, but it looks like we're going in that way. So the full circle economy, design out waste and pollution, keep products and materials in use, regenerate natural systems. We operate in a linear make, take, consume and waste system. And this model's full circle approach would eliminate by the latter by introducing methods that enable us to recycle, reuse and repair. And we also have the donut economy. I don't know why I was given that name, but maybe it will retain its memory. So this is set up by a UK economist, Kate Raworth, and she's devised an economic model that balances between essential human needs, staying within the boundaries of the ecological ceiling. And they are based upon the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we also have the shared economy, which you may know, and asks the question, do we really need to produce and make any more products or clothing? Why can't we just share and repair through a community-based online platform? And there's some really interesting, innovative ideas coming through. Which there's lots there, but I've chosen, selected these because some of them are involved directly with the supply chain. So, fabric waste within the supply chain. So it's a startup and it tracks waste fabric left on factory floors and how to regenerate that back into the supply chain. And I think it's a really good idea because then there's not as much waste being left. If you think about waste of the garments that we donate to charities, but there's an awful lot of waste being left on the factory floors within the supply chain. We have food waste into fabric, so you can create filaments and weave them into with natural fibres. Polyester eating microbes, a new type of microbe that can eat an old shirt and break down the polymer down to a basic raw material that can be sold back into polyester manufacturers. And then we have plant-based fabrics that will use less water and that grow in abundance and use less pesticides also. Garment-to-garment recycling. So the H&M Foundation and the Hong Kong textile apparel industry have come together to do some research around this. They've opened up a research centre in Hong Kong where you can bring your old garment into that store, and they will take that old garment from you. They will reuse those fibres and fabrics and create you a new garment, so you can walk away with a new garment from your old garment. And design education, which is really important. And this is focusing on the future direction of fashion, covering social, economical, ecological and cultural aspects of to change the climate mindset. And finally, I'd just like to leave you with this quote from Fashion Revolution. So to change a system, we must change the culture it thrives on. So think differently. Thank you.